Caitlin Clark, and I'm a huge fan, and I never say that, but I think it's fun what she's doing. When it comes to viewership, man.
Though I never say it, I think it's fun what Caitlin Clark is doing, especially when it comes to viewership. I think a lot of people have a lot to learn about our league, but I think that's a really fun thing. If you have anything negative to say about all the viewership and everything that this rookie class is doing, I just think that you're not taking advantage of it, and you might be a little jealous. So for me, I'm all for it. Let's just say that Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark have finally teamed up, and it's the exciting collaboration that fans have been waiting for. Unlike the person the Fever traded away to acquire her, Sophie isn't holding back when it comes to protecting Clark from all the bullies. Like last season's poor choices, which ranged from locker room controversy to outright disrespect, Nalyssa Smith's toxic attitude has now caught up with her, and she has been shipped out. Smith, alongside her favorite sidekick and pettiness BJ Carrington, was stirring the pot like it was her job. Well, guess what? They've both been moved to Dallas. The question is, was this just karma doing its thing, or is there even more drama we haven't heard yet? Let's break it down. Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, dude, absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but Alar weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit, and she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders, and I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in, and for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great play alongside Caitlin Clark for a while now. She's always respected Clark's game, admired her work ethic, and understood that when you've got a generational talent like Clark, you support her, not sabotage her. And now that dreams are reality, fans are ecstatic that Sophie has officially joined the Indiana Fever. But here's what makes it even more adorable. Nalyssa Smith, the player who couldn't even pretend to have Caitlin's back on the court, is no longer with the Fever. They didn't just bring in the correct player, though. I'm not an extremist in any way, so I like to see both sides of each party. However, I think that when you have older people in the league, and you know they work their tails off, and they don't get the recognition, they don't get paid millions of dollars before they even step on the court. So for them, it's all about, okay, what are you? What are your stats? That's the same Smith who brought nothing but negative vibes, locker room tension, and a me-first attitude that brought the team down like an anchor tied to a sinking ship. While you're playing the game, what are you doing for the game itself, and then for them? In contrast to Nalyssa Smith, who seemed more interested in passive-aggressive antics than actually playing basketball, Sophie Cunningham is not only a fantastic player, but also the kind of teammate you want. She is passionate, team-oriented, and most importantly, she respects Caitlin Clark. Smart players recognize that Clark is the WNBA's future and adjust accordingly. The organization saw it, and now the Fever made the best decision they could have made by severing ties with Smith. Nalyssa, the Indiana Fever no longer has Nalyssa Smith. Kelly Cross coughed and said, "Oh, you have to leave." No matter how you try to spin it, the chemistry was off when Nalyssa Smith was around. She didn't respect Caitlin Clark, and it was evident in every slack defensive effort, eye roll, and refusal to step up when it mattered. She wasn't just a bad fit on the court, she was a toxic presence off it. Her energy was like a storm cloud hovering over practice sessions, games, and even the locker room. Melissa is easily understood, but Nalyssa Smith is perplexed as to why Indiana Fever supporters do not want her on their squad. Allow me to explain why none of your outbursts on social media should even be considered. None of your subtweets need to be taken into consideration. All we really need to do is sit back and watch you on the court. It's not that difficult to understand. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham has been nothing but supportive. She's the kind of player who uplifts her teammates rather than bringing them down. Sophie has been outspoken about her admiration for Clark's game. We don't even need to consider all the unnecessary drama and garbage you add to this team when it comes off the court. You're removing the Indiana Fever one day in your bio and adding them the next day in your bio, quote tweeting other people's tweets. Nalyssa was incapable of feigning interest. She refused to stand up for Clark, behave as a true teammate, and most definitely didn't play with the intention of winning. This is fantastic for women's basketball and for women's sports in general. There are a lot of new and fresh perspectives on our sport, and while I understand that some of them may be a little ignorant and may have stirred up some controversy, you have her now, and the Fever is moving forward with a roster that makes sense, a team built on chemistry, respect, and winning. As for Nalyssa Smith and D. Carrington, Well, let's just say they have plenty of free time to think back on where it all went wrong. When Sophie Cunningham arrived, the Indiana Fever finally woke up and realized what the fans had been screaming all along. Nalyssa Smith was the problem. The energy was off, the chemistry was non-existent, and the vibe was pure negativity. However, guess what? Sophie Cunningham is exactly what this team needed. She is not only a tough, skilled player, but also a leader who is the kind of teammate who brings fire to the court, respects the game, and openly stated that she wanted to play with Caitlin Clark. Now that she gets to it, it's like the basketball gods did something correctly at last. More shocking news, there was simply another signing. Sophie Cunningham had just been acquired by the Indiana FIV, and wow, in just 2 hours, guess who is gone? Meanwhile, nalyssa Smith is not there. When nalyssa Smith left, let's face it, Fever lovers are relieved. There are no tears here, no farewell tributes, no dramatic goodbyes. Smith wasn't helping the team, she wasn't contributing anything on or off the court, and her body language and effort were inconsistent. Her treatment of Caitlin Clark during this social media stunt was blatantly disrespectful. "Oh, I'm sorry, you poked me in the eye, but did you do it on purpose?" I gave the KNE as a reflex, since it seemed like you were merely giggling, and it was obvious that she didn't care about the team's success. Honestly, the Fever would be better off without that negative energy. Since we know that last year was a major target for Caitlin Clark, who was supposed to get in and enforce it. As I keep telling you, Kelly Crystalball is not playing around, so it's no surprise that the locker room felt like entering an awkward family dinner. Sophie Cunningham is not going to put up with the hate and bullying Caitlin Clark has been subjected to throughout the WNBA. The arrival of Sophie Cunningham marks the beginning of a new era rather than merely a roster change. She brings respect, hustle, and a winning mentality that Smith lacked. The Fever didn't just make a trade, they made a statement saying, "We're done with drama, we're here to win." And for Caitlin Clark, the supporters, and the entire organization, this is a huge win. The team is finally creating something special, and now that Smith is gone, Cunningham and Clark are a duo you can rally behind. There is no more tension in the locker room, no more negative vibes, just basketball played the right way. As for nalyssa Smith, her time with the Indiana Fever is over, and it seems like the team won't be sending her a "we miss you" card anytime soon. Even a few months ago, when someone asked if she or Dee would play together, she essentially responded, "Oh, that's not going to happen because Connecticut aren't going to, cause I'm not basically said I'm not leaving Connecticut, and Indiana aren't going to trade UD out." Speaking of Smith, let's talk about how quickly she updated her bio after the trade. She didn't even wait for the paperwork to be finalized before announcing her move to the Dallas Wings. The plot twist is that she is getting back together with her girlfriend, Dee Carrington, one of the league's most controversial players. You may recall Carrington from her signature move last season where she poked Caitlin Clark in the eye. Well, it seems that when you can't outplay someone, you turn to playground tactics. Now that Smith and Carrington are on the same roster, the Dallas Wings may want to hire a full-time public relations team because the duo isn't exactly known for keeping things drama-free. This isn't just a basketball move, it's a recipe for disaster. Smith had trouble settling in Indiana, and Carrington has been garnering more attention for her antics than her actual performances. The Wings didn't sign a dynamic duo, instead they signed a walking, talking reality show. Good luck with that, Dallas, you're going to need it. Thank you. Obviously, it got me pretty good in the eye, but I don't think it affected me honestly. I felt like I got good shots, they just didn't go down, and the Indiana are thriving this offseason. As Smith and Carrington are ready to give the Dallas Wings nothing but headaches, let's face it, the Fever is laser focused on moving forward without interruptions. With nalyssa Smith gone, dark cloud of negativity that lingered over the squad has disappeared, and Indiana fans are celebrating that they finally got what they've been begging for. It's as if the air has become cleaner. The lock soccer room finally feels like a place where winning is the first priority, and the vibes are better. nalyssa Smith is joining her teammate and her girlfriend Dee Carrington, who of course poked out the eyeball damn near of Clint. Smith did not only perform poorly on the court, but she also failed to show any loyalty to the fan base that once cheered her name. Remember when Carrington openly disrespected Fever supporters? Where was Smith then? There was silence, no defense of her team, no leadership, nothing. It was obvious that her connection to Indiana was at best superficial. The true architect of this change was Clark last year. Kelly Krov this offseason, Amber Cox, and Stephanie White have been preparing all the necessary moves to transform the Fever into serious contenders. Kelsey Mitchell, one of the league's most prolific scorers, was